Lisa, it's all yours.
Good afternoon, good morning, and good evening, wherever it is that you are watching Africa Online Media Corporation in the world. We are so grateful to have you join us today, whether you're watching on Zoom or on Facebook, because we are streaming live. And if you're watching on Facebook and you want to join the conversation, grab hold of the numbers that's going to be put in the box and join us over here in Zoom and bring your questions and be part of the conversation. At this time, we want to welcome all our guests and you who are joining us today. At this time, I'm going to turn it over to the hands of our very capable brother, Niasa.
Good afternoon, everybody. Good evening, good day. Greetings to everybody. And if it's not too late, Happy New Year to everyone. My name is Asonglefac Nkemleke. You'll be seeing Barnabas and Nkemleke on the screen. It doesn't matter. Barnabas means son of consolation or son of encouragement. It's a Cypriot name. I inherited in 1962 when I was baptized a Catholic. All right, too much information. TIM, somebody told me the other day. So here we go. We're talking about vaccination in the wake of coronavirus. So I usually give a reflection at the beginning. So here we go. It is the 31st day of 2021. It is the 5th and last Sunday in the first month of the new year. 2021 is 31 days old. Yeah, we also count the age of the year, isn't it? There are still 334 days to go in 2021. It is the 42nd day of winter. So for those of us in North America, there are 48 more days left before we see spring. But wait on the 2nd or 3rd of February for the groundhog to tell you exactly how many weeks of winter we still have. The zodiac sign for this Sunday and for this part of the month is Aquarius. Maybe you love that. I don't know. Well, I don't know my own. In the United States, it is National Hot Chocolate Day. Ambassador Lisa, please don't go for that chocolate. It's not good for your health. But you won't have time and a half on your pay packet because this day, even though it is a National Hot Chocolate Day, it is not an official US holiday. We may not be relishing chocolate in any shape or form, but we stand at a point in our in our earthly sojourn and our living here on earth to be able to find ourselves hopeful that we can acquire power and preserve democracy at the same time, because when all is said and done, democracy seems to hold a better promise than dictatorship, anarchy, and intolerance. Democracy calls for a tolerant spirit, a spirit that welcomes all viewpoints, even if those viewpoints are discomforting. That thinking is good for the history books. So let's let sleeping dogs lie. But before we do that, let us see what those history books teach us about January 31. On this day in 1865, back in history then, the United States Congress passed the 13th Amendment to the United States Constitution. That amendment passed by 121 votes to 24 at that time, abolishing slavery in the United States. February here is Black or African American month. That day, that decision came on the heels of Abraham Lincoln's signing of the Emancipation Proclamation, freeing slaves in the then South that had revolted against the nation. On this day in 2006, Ben Bernanke, remember him, was approved by the United States Senate as chairman to succeed Alan Greenspan, another name in history. He was the chairman of the American or Federal Reserve, that is the Central Bank of the United States. Mr. Ben Bernanke took over the very next day on February 1st. And since then, he was the chairman of the Federal Reserve, but it changes with power, it changes with presidents. And so he had since retired and gone to do other businesses. The position of chairman of the Federal Reserve, it must be said, is considered to be one of the most powerful in the world. But we are not into all that. Our concern this Sunday, dear people, is not building political fences or talking economics. No, our concern is about discussing the ongoing pandemic and how to combat it with the most recent scientific tool on our hands, that is Vaccines. Is vaccination the silver bullet? How is it going on the African continent? Is Africa ready and prepared to order, obtain, and proceed with vaccinating its 1.3 trillion people? The short answer to that question is no, as I see it. That is a personal opinion. As at this month end, that is at the end of this January, the continent is very far behind in receiving the vaccines, a situation that has led the Director General of the World Health Organization, Dr. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus of Ethiopia, to warn, quote, "The world is on the brink of a catastrophic moral failure, and the price will be paid with lives and livelihoods in the poorest countries." At the same time, he is calling for equity, saying, quote, "Even as they speak the language of equitable access, some countries and companies continue to prioritize bilateral deals, going around COVAX, driving up prices, and attempting to jump to the front of the queue," end of quote. Unfortunately, it is not just the lack of equity or jumping the queue. At issue is also the cost and the level of preparedness on the African continent. Have African governments, non-governmental organizations, and other humanitarian agencies adequately prepared the logistics and beneficiary populations for vaccinations? Are the populations being psychologically prepared for the vaccines? Or are traditional taboos and other cultural hindrances standing in the way of administering those vaccines when they become available? Join us then this afternoon to discuss vaccinations as the best answer, if we may say, to fighting coronavirus and that health hazard it has brought on humanity called COVID-19. We have two guests who will address your questions and concerns. So let me pause here and assure you that all of us in the House will participate in the program as our audience listens heartily and devotedly to us. So I'm going to fly this plane and land it in Houston, Texas for our chair, the chair of Africa Online Media Corporation, Reverend Palm. The plane is in your courtyard. Please take the call.
Yeah, thank you so much, Nia Song. I actually have a hangar in my backyard, so the plane actually came straight to my backyard. I would like on, and I apologize. I don't sound like I normally do because anyway, I'm not gonna go too much into details, but I have a little discomfort in my mouth, so just bear with me. On behalf of Africa Online Media Corporation, I want to warmly welcome you again. Our fantastic ambassador just did that. Um, our co-host is tied up a little bit, so maybe she'll zoom in later on. But I want to just encourage everybody. This is your show. This show is unscripted, so feel free to unmute yourself and weigh in. But our main anchor, he's an iconic journalist and professor of journalism, so he will get to every single person. I would like to give my two beautiful sisters the opportunity to introduce themselves. I want to start with Dr. B. Tazong, who's been with us for many years. So, Dr. B, if you can turn on your camera and briefly introduce yourself, and then we'll go to our second special guest for today. I would also like to acknowledge we have a guest from Nigeria, Lagos, Mr. Roger. I just see you. Also, turn on your video, and you'll get a chance to introduce yourself later. My beautiful sister, Dr. B, you are very welcome. Please take a minute and introduce yourself.
Hello, good evening, everyone, or good afternoon, depending on where you're at. Thank you again, Reverend Pam and Nia Song, for this opportunity to always be a part of Africans building the Africans together. One of the reasons why I will always embrace every opportunity to be on here is because I believe that we are the solution. We hold the solutions to our problems. So instead of asking everybody else to do it, let each of us do our part. And I think if we can do that, Africa will be the better for everybody. My name is B. Tazong Famondam. I'm a physician. Preventive medicine is my background. And I'm currently practicing as a locum tenens, meaning that I travel and work. And I practice mainly primary care at this time, but I still pursue my interest of prevention and lifestyle management and public health. And so I hope that I can bring something to the table today to help our audience and everybody else that is a part of this conversation today to help you stay healthy, because the goal of every preventive medicine physician is to prevent disease. It's much easier, much cheaper, and less cumbersome to prevent stuff than to fix broken things. So thank you again.
Dr. B, thank you so much. One of the things, she's very humble, she forgot to mention, is that she also has a master's in public health. And I'm glad she's a preventive health a physician, because we're talking about COVID vaccination. And she's going to tell every one of us on this show and those listening how not to get COVID-19. So I would like to bring on board uh, my, I'll call her a younger sister. I'm just assuming that she's younger than me. She's so cute. We just met not too long ago. Her husband brought her on board, and you can see any guy that is smiling from ear to ear, that's her husband on this show. So she's on fire. She's already volunteered as a mentor for one of our STEM programs. So Dr. Bisola, well, let me call your full name, Adebisola Ajibade. The mic is yours.
Sure. Thank you so much, Reverend Pam, and to all the organizers. I am Busola Ajibade. I'm actually trained as a biomedical researcher. And I actually, when I did my thesis work, it was on cancer prevention.
Wow.
So, which is still very important, even though COVID-19 dominates the news cycles at this time. So I also do have an interest in prevention, at least for my training. But I currently work in the pharmaceutical industry. In the last, I'd say probably 12 to 13 years, I've worked in the area of immunology, which has become also, I told my manager last year, I said it's the year of immunology and the year of science, because that's really what COVID-19 is. It's an immunological, the virus causes a immunological disorder or crisis in the body. So immunology has become very dominant, and it's been, from a scientific point of view, very interesting to learn more about how this virus works and even the vaccines. So today I just hope to offer, some perspectives. There's been a lot of, I guess, concerns, even amongst lay folk and educated folks about this virus, how fast the vaccines have been developed, and just many questions causing a lot of, I think, maybe well-founded apprehension. And I think some of it we can address by just learning more together. The Bible says, my people perish for lack of knowledge.
That's right.
Knowledge is power. So the more knowledgeable we are, then we're able to make informed decisions. You make your own decision based on the knowledge that you have. So I hope to offer those perspectives today.
Thank you so much, Nia Song. Dr. Bisola, I'm saying Nia Song because I see his head moving. We do have a few people on the show. Garden of Eden, if you want to unmute yourself. Brad Larry, if you want to unmute yourself, just say something real quick or ask a question. And then we have, I think that's Dr. Olanike. And then we have our sister Ashoma, we have Mr. Rogers, also and Cornelius Opie. So we'll be coming to you guys. Just make sure you unmute yourself, because the show automatically mutes people when they upon entry. But if you have a question before we get to you, you can either raise your hand or post it on the chat box, and the anchor will call you. Nia Song, I'm about to hand the mic to you, but I want you to know Dr. Bisola has a slide that she wants to share, but maybe she will share, I don't know how long it is later on, or it's up to you, Nia Song, you're the main anchor, or if you want to start posing questions to both Dr. Tazong and Dr. Jibade, it's up to you, Nia Song. Over to you.
Thank you, Reverend Pam. I wanted to start with Dr. B. Tazong because I raised the question in my reflection, is vaccination the silver bullet to coronavirus COVID-19? So I want her to start from there, then we'll go across the board and have people share their points of view. Then Dr. Ajibade will come in after that with the video.
Okay. So please forgive my voice. Ever since COVID started, I've been struggling with my voice because I get allergies to all the cleaning things that we use to keep ourselves safe. So please bear with me if my voice gets a little raspy. Nia Song, if you don't mind, there's something that I always like to do, because I feel like one of the problems that we have is that people don't really understand what this whole vaccination thing is about and how our bodies work. So when you don't understand, it's always easy for you to doubt the process. So if you don't mind, before I answer your question, let me give a little bit of a background about the human immune system and then vaccination, and then I'll pull those things together and explain why or why not this is a silver bullet to this
Please
coronavirus.
go right ahead. Please go right ahead. Thank you.
So the way our body works, we have an amazing immune system. The only reason each of us are alive and well today and not infested is because our immune system is constantly on watch. I call it your body's surveillance system. So it's almost like the military, the high the top rated military body of any country. That's our immune system. So there are many things that are happening on us, around us, and in us that we're not even aware of, but our immune system is taking control. And the only time we get sick is when something slips through, or the immune system is overwhelmed, or there's some kind of a defect. So just by being alive, when we breathe in a lot of bacteria. When we eat a lot of junk. We eat a lot of things that could potentially make us sick. Any opening in our body is a potential entry route for bacteria, viruses, and so on. But each of those body parts has protective gear. In your eyes, you have tears, you have enzymes, you have all kinds of things that are there just to provide the first line of defense. In your mouth, you have saliva. When food gets through your mouth, in your stomach, you have stomach acid. And the stomach acid is really meant to burn down a lot of things, destroy a lot of things that shouldn't go through your body. In other parts of your body, you have different things. In your nostrils, as soon as something goes in that is wrong, you have mucus, and all of those things contain different enzymes that will break down unwanted or foreign substances. So that is the first line of defense. It's called the humoral immune system, and most human beings would have it. The second line of defense is what we call the adaptive or cell mediated immune system. And this system is one that has to be tuned. It has to be fine tuned every time so that it knows what to do. So, what I'll call it, I'll compare the humoral immune system to maybe the walls in your house, the doors, and so on. And then the adaptive immune system would be more like maybe your alarm system and all those things, where if something goes wrong, it knows to go off, but it doesn't, it goes off with training. Or like the military, you don't just get a bunch of people to come and fight. You have to train them. You have to teach them warfare. They need to identify what enemies are and how to fight. And they have to keep training. There's never a time when the military is overtrained. It always has to stay on top of the game. So your adaptive immune system is like this well-trained military. And what it does is that every time your body is exposed to something, it sends the information to the cells. They call them the B cells. And the B cells now say, oh, I see what it is. And they start building a memory system where they remember things that they have seen that don't belong in your body. And over time, you build immunity to different things. That's why, for example, people that are very sensitive to diseases are very young children and older people. Very young children because they have not yet built up their adaptive immunity. Older people because, it's wear and tear. As you get older, your body is not as wonderful as it used to be. So even though you may have adaptive immunity, it's not as sharp and as um, effective as it used to be. So, and then also different illnesses could destroy people's immune systems. So what vaccination targets is this adaptive immunity. And what vaccination basically does is that it it gives your body a little bit of something that it could potentially be exposed to. And it could give it in different ways. We have what they call live attenuated vaccines, like vaccines that they've taken the virus and they've killed, they've kind of they've not completely killed it, but they've weakened it enough that it cannot make you sick. But it's still enough to stimulate a response from your body. And then we have those that are basically pieces of viruses that they've killed, they've destroyed, and they introduce it to your body. And so your body sees them and it says, okay, I now have seen this thing. I'm going to learn how to fight it so that when the real thing comes, I'll be ready for it. And then now we have the mRNA vaccine, mRNA vaccines, which is another exciting thing. So if you go back a little bit, we have two types of genetic material that are used in the body, the DNA and the mRNA. The DNA basically carries genetic information, and that one is hidden generally in the nucleus. So it's very stable. It's supposed to be stable because this is what codes for our genetic systems of anything. That's why, for example, when somebody commits a crime or you want to identify family members, you use the DNA because it's stable. It keeps transmitting a similar message, unless it is damaged by different kinds of things like maybe radiation and so on. But generally, DNA is stable. RNA is the one that is not stable. It is not in the nucleus of the cell, but it sits outside. And basically, what the RNA does is that it carries information from the DNA and tells the body what to do. So the DNA just keeps the blueprint. So think about DNA as a blueprint of genetic information. RNA is actually the manifestation of the DNA. So messenger RNA is a specific one that takes the information to the ribosomes inside your cells and says, listen, this is what the DNA says you should produce. I want you to replicate and produce a ton of these things, because the ribosome is what, it's like the manufacturing plant in the cell that produces all this all the genetic material. So what is exciting about the messenger RNA vaccine is that instead of us introducing bits and pieces of a virus into your body, they quickly identified what they call the spike protein on that virus. And the spike protein is what gave that virus its name. The coronavirus, corona is really, the meaning of that word is a crown. And so the spike proteins on the coronavirus make it look like a crown. So they discovered the spike proteins on the coronavirus, and the spike protein is usually what interacts with the human cell to get into the cell and then basically tell it what to produce. Once they identify the spike protein, they quickly develop a DNA code for it, a messenger RNA code, and they can introduce that into the body, and that messenger RNA would go into the cells and tell the cells, I want you to produce more of the spike proteins. And once the messenger RNA starts producing those spike proteins, the cell starts producing the spike proteins, the body says, wait a minute, this does not belong in here. Even though you're producing it, I know you don't belong in here. So I'm going to have to fight you. And so your immune system starts fighting those spike proteins that the body is producing, because the messenger RNA vaccine asked it to produce them. And that is really how it's supposed to work. So the question now is this the way out of the corona vaccine? Yes, of the coronavirus? Yes and no. Yes, because the vaccines have been shown to be highly efficient in reducing risk of transmission, but more effective in preventing severe disease, which is really what is taking a toll on people. We want to reduce the number of people that are getting sick and getting really sick, because once they get really sick, chances are they may not make it, and they also overwhelm the healthcare system. So even if somebody could have survived, just because we have so many people waiting in line to get treated and the healthcare system is getting burnt out, you probably will not make it. So our goal is to reduce how sick people are, so that they don't wind up in the hospital, and so that their bodies can basically fight this thing through. Does it mean people are not going to get COVID? They'll probably get it. Some people will get it. Some people may not get it. But even if they get it, they're not going to get sick to the point where they have to die, which is equivalent to what is happening with the flu right now. So it is sort of a way out of this, but it doesn't mean that it's completely solved the problem. Another reason why I say no to that is because all of us have different immune systems. I may take the vaccine and my immune system will respond very well, and I may be 100% protected, and the other person takes it and their immune system doesn't respond as well. And then, of course, there are always going to be people in a population that cannot take the vaccine. For example, with this one right now, they've tested it only from people 16 and over or 18 and over, depending on which vaccine you're using. So we know that anybody below 16 cannot have this vaccine. So what happens to them? We're counting on herd immunity, meaning that if enough people can take this vaccine and be significantly protected, it's going to reduce the presence of this virus in the human community. And so those people that cannot take it will be protected. So apart from the young people, we have people with a lot of allergies. We have people that have very sensitive health issues that cannot take the vaccines. And so those are the people that we're fighting for. So in a sense, vaccination is one of the ways that we as human beings are trying to show compassion for ourselves and for other people, because we realize that every good thing that we do is going to come back to help everybody else, including us.
Thank you very much. We're going to turn to Dr. Ajibade for now. You just hold your peace, Dr. Bitazong. We'll get back to you. I have a burning question, but I'll bring it later. Dr. Ajibade, I know you have something to share, so please go ahead and do that.
Absolutely. I just thought, thank you so much, Dr. Tasson. That was excellent. And I'll just take a little step back. Like I said, I think if we have a firm understanding of where we've been with vaccines in the past, it'll help us contextualize what the COVID vaccines represent historically. So that's what I wanted to do in a couple minutes before we continue the conversation. So just, the current state of the world with the COVID-19 vaccine, and all of these are all online from WHO, CDC, CEPI, Gavi websites. So, they're freely available for all of us to access. As of today, this is the current state of the world, showing that the Americas have been hit the hardest, but I think we have to consider the testing as well in how these numbers show up, especially with regards to Africa and some of the continents. The blue is Africa, which is really low down here, but we have to question how accurate this is when we think about testing. And on the right here, we see the incidents on the world map, and the Americas as well as Russia, which light up the strongest blue, are have the highest numbers. As of today, over 102 million people have had this COVID-19 virus, and over 2.2 million people are dead. Here in the United States, we have, pretty, I guess, good numbers because of the CDC and, increased testing compared to other parts of the world. We see here that Black, African Americans, and Hispanic Latinos are hit the hardest, both with regards to the hospitalization for severe illnesses as well as death. The mortality is higher in people of Black descent. So, with all the hoopla and concerns around the vaccines, I thought it'd be helpful to just take a step back and just emphasize that these vaccines are not new. Even dating back to 16th century, it's been shown that Chinese, they call them variolation, for smallpox. So it's a preventative technique that's been used for centuries, and it's nothing new. It did not emerge in 2020 when COVID-19 became top news around the world. And as of 1776, Englishman Edward Jenner introduced the first method of vaccination. That Louis Pasteur and others contributed, up to where we are right now. So we're talking of a centuries-old method of prevention here. So, what have vaccines done for us in the past and even up to now? Here in the United States, vaccinations, for different diseases, transmittable diseases, measles, pertussis, and so on and so forth, have reduced the incidence of this disease, or in some cases like smallpox, eradicated them. And we see that even with, for example, measles, with the emergence of the anti-vaccine movement, we've seen some of these diseases re-emerging, especially here in the United States. So vaccines have played a big role in global health here in the United States and around the world in helping to prevent diseases. Around the world, the number is anywhere from 2 to 3 million, according to the World Health Organization. So over 20 life-threatening diseases have been controlled using vaccines, and immunization currently prevents a lot of diseases that in the past were a big deal. So, just a little bit more about vaccines. Thank you so much, Dr. Tazang. She covered some of this, but I'll just go over very briefly. She mentioned the flu, measles. Our bodies respond to insult, to any form of foreign particles or microorganisms. With our immune system, it's our defense system against foreign bodies. So we have antibodies either naturally or through exposure. Our humoral or innate immune system will respond, and then the cell-mediated immune system. So we have memory B cells, memory built into our body. So when the same insult occurs or the same pathogen, the body is able to respond. So then we start to have existing immunity or memory immunity from the B cells. In the case where the body has never been exposed to a pathogen, it's new. The immune system does not know how to respond. It has to build up a respond. And this is where vaccines come to play a role. So a fragment of, in the past you mentioned they'd use live vaccines, inactivate a microorganism, but now we have a fragment of it, a protein, part of the organism, which, for example, with the COVID-19, is used to build a vaccine. So the body then learns to respond to this microorganism or to target that's placed in the body. So that's how the body builds response and memory to those vaccines, to those organisms. So there are three types of COVID-19 vaccines being developed. The two that are approved right now are mRNA, which is talked about. They're also protein-based and vector-based vaccines being developed. The vector-based is the AstraZeneca vaccine. So more on this mRNA, she touched on many of this. They're carried in lipid nanoparticles into a cell. The cell has a machinery for converting this mRNA into proteins so that we can have lasting immune response. And these are spike, the part of the COVID-19 virus that's targeted is the spike proteins. And they're stabilized through a prefusion conformation. So what happens, at this stage, do they just appear? No, we have a federal, FDA, Food and Drug Administration here. And the steps are pretty complex, starting with the pharmaceutical industry. We go through preclinical testing. There are several levels of clinical trials, starting with healthy volunteers, phase 2, phase 3 trials. And then there are experts expert physicians and statisticians and all kinds of experts that are assembled together, both from the company, in the community, and in our healthcare institutions all around the world. And also, the government, the Food and Drug Administration, or whatever the regulatory agency is in a country, to examine the data. Is this a compound or an agent that should be approved, or vaccine, a biologic that should be approved for human use? So we go through all of that before the FDA or the regulatory agency will approve a drug. And this is just a brief schematic of what happens, starting from the company, research and development, preclinical testing in cells and in animals, and then it goes into human trials, and then the BLA, the biologics licensing application is submitted. Even once an entity is approved, there's still phase 4 trials. So she mentioned that the current vaccines are approved for age 16 and 18 and up, depending on which one it is. So currently there are trials going on to test them in children. So they're called age de-escalating trials to, examine the efficacy and effectiveness of these vaccines in younger people. So it doesn't stop from there. Even trials are done in pregnant women to, specifically test that population as well. So what's in these vaccines besides the antigen, or in this case, the mRNA? The other things are placed in it to stabilize it. There are preservatives that are added into them. And, just for transparency, this is what the FDA, on the FDA website, this is what's in the Pfizer BioNTech vaccine. We've got the mRNA lipids and salts and just stabilizers and sugars. As well, the Moderna as well, it's the mRNA lipids and several other agents in there. But they all do play a role in stabilizing the vaccine. So I just thought, since the people of Black descent are disproportionately hospitalized and even dying from this vaccine, just to show a little bit about what's in the trials that led to the approval of the vaccines. So this is just a breakdown of the Moderna trial and showing that, most of the participants were white, over 30,000 people, but 10% of the participants were Black or African American. So that would be about 3,000 plus people. In the Pfizer BioNTech trial, also mostly white, but 9% of the participants were also of Black or African American heritage. So this trial had over 37,000 people. As far as gender goes, it's almost equally distributed between male, female, both of them. And in the Pfizer trial, they did indicate that 2% of the participants came from South Africa. So both trials were placebo controlled, which means that some people got the active agent, the vaccine with the mRNA, the COVID-19 vaccine, and other people got just placebo, which does not have the active agent in it. And in the Pfizer trial, they showed the vaccine had 95% efficacy. So for those who got the active agent compared to placebo, we say 95% efficacy. And this is a safety profile: pain at the injection site, fatigue, headache, and the adverse events were similar between the control group, the placebo, and the vaccine group. And then in the Moderna, similarly, it was 94% effectiveness compared to placebo. And there were no adverse events of note, differently from the Pfizer. pain at the injection site was also one of the most common. So I just wanted to go over, just what we know right now about this vaccine and just to address some of the issues that are at hand. Are people being injected with the COVID-19 virus itself? The answer to that is no. It's not the virus that's been injected, and it's not the whole molecule. It's the spike protein, a fragment that's meant to train the immune system to respond to future insult. The vaccine does not enter into the nucleus. Dr. Tasong addressed that, where the DNA is. The mRNA is very unstable. Once it's injected, the immune system responds, builds immunity, starting with the B cell response, memory B cells, and then cell-mediated immunity. If people have been vaccinated, should we keep on wearing masks and using preventative techniques? And the answer is yes. I said earlier, the mRNA vaccine is not a live virus. It does not go into the nucleus, and the mRNA breaks down once it's translated into a protein. Since the topic here is also about Africa, I just thought I'd just show a little bit. We see here, this is from online, Our World in Data. As far as who's gotten the vaccine so far, Africa is not even showing up in the top 10 countries. So that's an issue, right? Because we're hearing that the rates are going up. So that graph that we saw at the beginning, it's going to change once there's more testing and things like that. So Africa currently right now is not even showing in the radar for vaccinations, and there's no data. But there is a way forward. COVAX has been formed, and this is an alliance between CEPI, WHO, and Gavi. And it's been launched for equitable access to COVID-19 vaccines in poor countries. And the goal is just to end the acute phase of this pandemic by the end of this year. So $500 billion is the estimated cost of this vaccine, of this virus or pandemic so far to the global economy. COVAX is hoping to have 2 billion doses delivered to different parts of the world that are in need by the end of the year. And the estimated funding needed is 2.1 billion. So just in summary, there are 2 vaccines that have been approved right now in the United States, and also it's more emerging in other parts of the world, from Pfizer and Moderna. The Pfizer vaccine is approved for people that are 16 years and up, and Moderna for 18 years and up. And what should we do if you've been vaccinated? For those who have been, we still need to keep using preventative measures, the mask, staying 6 feet, physical distancing, avoiding large crowds, staying in ventilated spaces, and also hygiene, washing hands. And the CDC website, FDA website, WHO website have abundance of information on how this vaccine is being distributed, where it is right now, where they are right now, and just, advice and, debunking myths about the vaccine, and just a lot of fact sheets and infographics as well. So I encourage you to check it out if you have any questions. The WHO website is very helpful. And I think that's all I have. So I hope that helps us all to just sort of set a baseline.
Fantastic.
Done.
Yes, but don't go away, please. We'll come back to you later. Reverend Pam,
Sure.
I just could not. I know, Nia Song, you had some burning questions. I hope the fire doesn't engulf you, but I needed to jump in quickly to just say, let's all put our hands together for these amazing daughters of the soil, Dr. B and Dr. Bisola. You guys did an amazing job. I mean, we're tackling this thing from both sides. I am so proud of you guys. I mean, listening to both of you guys took me back to my days at Texas Children's. We actually, the varicella vaccine was also tested that we participated in that studies. Everything has been covered. I mean, just hearing it from Africans, daughters of the soil, will encourage our people. We have a lot of people who are saying that, oh, it's not rampant in Africa. Why should we get the vaccine? Or are they going to try to sterilize all those conspiracy theories? So I am so happy that this is coming from our own sisters. So I just want, I will make some more comments earlier. I'm not going to share my own personal comments about vaccines because I don't want to either encourage or discourage anybody, but I just wanted to jump in here and just applaud the 2 of you. That's why I say we are smarter than the people that think we are not. So the good thing is that all of your brains belong to Africa, and this Africa Online is for Africa by Africans. So Nia-san, when you ask your burning question, our sister Shoma has a question she posted on the chat box. We're gonna give her the mic, and then we'll open it up to our participants.
Hello,
Thank
Reverend
you very
Pam.
much, Reverend Palm. Yes, yeah, Dr.
Yes,
Bitazon,
I just
go
want to
right ahead.
thank
Go right
my
ahead,
sister,
please.
Dr. Ajibade. You did a beautiful job. I mean, I just love what you did. I'm just sitting here thinking we need more women in leadership. We don't have anything against men. I'm not a feminist, but I
Exactly.
mean, women just have a way of handling stuff that cannot be disputed.
That's right. That's right.
But what I wanted to say too, I just wanted to add this because I know there are a lot of doubters online. If you think about the HIV, the human immunodeficiency virus,
Mm-hmm.
I want to compare it with, because viruses are viruses,
Yeah.
and they all behave in similar ways. That's why when you're tackling them, you kind of use similar things, but of course, you have to fine tune for each one. If you think about the HIV, when somebody has HIV, it doesn't change their genetic constitution. What it just does is it overwhelms their cells, and instead of their cells taking care of their bodies, the cells are busy producing HIV, more HIV cell viruses, more pieces of the HIV. When you have a child, the child does not look like HIV. The child looks like who you are, which is basically because your child has your genetic information. That's just to tell you that just because they're giving you this vaccine or COVID gets into your body doesn't mean that you become that disease. You're just overwhelmed by the disease. And then another thing to why we keep talking about being careful with what you're doing even after you get the vaccine is that the human experience is dynamic. That's why even if two of us have the same disease, we may end up differently because our bodies are different, our environments are different. So let's just put it this way: if I walked by somebody who already had the COVID virus, right, and they didn't have a high enough level yet, they may not infect me. I may get a few particles, and my body's going to kind of fight them off. But if I walk by somebody who was overwhelmed by the virus, and what are they going to do? They're going to dump a ton of viruses on top of me. So just because I got vaccinated, it just depends on the exposure. And so that's why we have to keep thinking about it. And I connect it back to the HIV because one thing we know about HIV now is that our goal in HIV management is to make it undetectable. It doesn't mean you stop having the virus. It means that it is so low that we can't even pick it up when we measure it. And they've now found that when people have undetectable levels of HIV, it's highly unlikely that they'll transmit it to somebody else. That means that it's the same thing with other viruses, even with the COVID. When people are carrying around lower levels of that virus, when they're infected, the chances of them transmitting it are lower. That's why this whole thing is about reducing the viral load. If you can reduce the viral load, you can reduce the risk of transmission. And if you can reduce the risk of transmission, you also reduce the risk of disease and the disease progression. So just for those people who are familiar with the HIV, kind of put this thing in a parallel, viewpoint, and look at the picture in your mind and say, you know what, this is how viruses normally play. This virus is no different. It's just a different virus, but it plays by the same game book. And if you can think about it along those lines, then other things begin to make sense to you. Thank you.
What worries me most is that in the days gone by, in the olden days, we didn't hear of, well, we grew up reading things, but we didn't read about viruses and so on. And people survived. Some lived from close to a century. I remember reading from the big book, somebody lived 800 and something years. But why is it that today we have all these things, whereas they were not there in those days? Has environmental or climate change and whatever they're talking about, has that impacted our living in the world, on Earth?
And process.
Anybody can take it. Yes, Dr. Bitas or anybody else, please.
Okay, so I'm going to say one thing first, sir. If you go back in Genesis chapter 6,
yes,
when man became so sinful, since you brought up the Bible, I'll bring that up and then I'll explain some other stuff. When man became really sinful, God said, my spirit shall not continue to contend with the spirit of man. You guys have made up your minds to be wicked. So I'm going to slash your life. Back in the day, God would let you live close to 1,000 years. It's like now it's going to be about 120 years. And then he even cut it back some more later on. So part of it is for those who believe in the Bible, part of it is by divine design. Once man became unbearably sinful, God had to cut this thing out. But besides that, I think and I believe in the divine connection because how do you explain that people live to be hundreds of years and they don't age? And now we live, by the time you're 30, 40, 50, you're beginning to fall apart. You know, your body may still look good, but things are kind of falling apart. Because basically God has squeezed the system. It's shutting the whole process. But that also means that wear and tear is going to happen faster. And I would also say something about back then and now. We have changed a lot for the worse. I mean, we have a lot of development, but the human body has never really changed. So when you are going based on development instead of going on the proper way to treat the human body, which is where my passion is, lifestyle medicine, you're going to have a lot more diseases. One thing that we're going to discuss at some point in this conversation is the connection between the human diet and the immune system. And the reason is because most of your immune system lines your gut. So when you think about warfare, the military lines up at the battlefront. They don't line up in the offices. They stay at the battlefront where the battle is hottest. And so that is the biggest port of entry of a lot of germs and viruses and other things into our bodies, the mouth. And so you have to have your immune system line up your gut. And that is kind of what helps your body become more attuned. It helps you to build a robust immune system. So, based on what we eat, every research has shown that a plant based whole grain nutrition, whole food plant based nutrition, is the most appropriate food for building a robust immune system. When we eat processed foods, which is basically Western diets, when we eat those things, they have zero contribution to our immune system. In fact, they harm our immune system because they cause inflammation, but they don't build our biome, what they call the microbiome. That's all the bacteria that are in your gut, because you have both the good and the bad ones. The good ones live in conjunction with your body. Your body allows them to live there in exchange for them helping your body stay healthy. When you eat the right kinds of foods, it helps to build your gut microbiome. And that has a very strong connection with your immune system. It basically starts teaching your immune system how to build up good defenses. So I think that's a good part of this whole thing with why are we getting sicker more often. Those grandparents, they ate straight out of the farm. They didn't eat McDonald's, they didn't eat all these crazy things that we eat right now. So they had beautiful immune systems.
Thank you very much, Dr. Bitazon. I have people waiting online to ask questions. Ashoma is the first. She'll go first. We'll follow with Dr. Lanike, and then there was Cornelius who raised his hand during the previous conversation. So please, in that order, Ashoma, Dr. Lanike, and then Cornelius. So let's go. Ashoma, please.
And if I may interrupt real quick, Dr.
Yes.
Cornelius Akwe is also a primary care physician
Awesome.
in Maryland, so you can offer some clinical
Awesome.
opinion as well. Yeah.
Okay, we'll take you later.
It just became part of our medical squad today.
Okay.
We are declaring it.
Yes. So let's go. Let's start with Ashoma, then we'll go down to, let's go take the round.
Hello, everyone.
Yes, please.
So good to be on here. Thank you so much for the presentation. That was quite informative. And I was just asking for your thoughts as regards, boosting one's immunity and improving it naturally. Just so one, is that totally okay? Just so one doesn't have to go for the vaccine. Like you said in your presentation, people react to vaccine differently because of our makeup and our build. And so I'm wondering, would you advise that it's actually better to boost one's immunity naturally and probably not just go for the vaccine?
Dr. Bitazon, I think that's for you.
Okay, I didn't want to seize the show. So I'm going to say something, ma'am. I am all for boosting the immune system naturally. And that is through lifestyle management. We just talked about it. Healthy eating, getting enough sleep, that affects your immune system. Physical activity affects your immune system. Stress affects your immune system. Using substances, things like alcohol and so on, they affect your immune system. And so if you can work on, we call it the 6 pillars of lifestyle medicine, that is an excellent way to start building up your immune system. But I'm going to say this, unless you have a strong contraindication to vaccines, you should consider it to be a friend and not a foe. And the reason is very simple. Can you ever build muscle without exercising? No, you cannot. You cannot build a robust immune system without exposure. That's why basically Yeah, vaccination is part of your body gaining experience with pathogens. That's what it is. So all we're trying to do is teach your body all the different things that it could potentially be exposed to, so that when it comes in contact with those things, it's ready. So there's no way to build that without getting exposure. You cannot have a muscle without exercising that muscle. I hope I
Thank
answered
you.
your
Okay.
question, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you. We're going to
Thank
go
you.
to, yeah, let's go over to to Olanike. I don't know where it's doctor or just Olanike. Please, sorry for my confused state of mind.
You're not confused. What?
Hello, my name is Olanike. I'm not yet a doctor. I will wait until May 2022 to become a doctor.
Congratulations.
I'm a year 3 pharmacy student here in the US. I'm so interested in the topic because right now I'm currently working on COVID vaccine distribution is one of my projects and how safe it is. So I just want to ask the presenters, since we know that Africa is lacking behind in vaccine issues and anything, is there anything we could do since we have the understanding of how it will help them? Is there anything we are looking forward to do from this organization or any other organization, like to just create more awareness to like educate our people and let them know what we know? Thank you.
Dr. Bitazo, any word on that? Or
I
Dr.
do, but
Ajibade?
I wanted to find out if Dr. Ajibade had something to say with respect to that.
No,
Yes.
actually, yeah, I'll just offer that. I think the first step, even before the vaccine, is I think we need to address the attitudes that people maybe still don't believe. If you think there's resistance in the United States, then they're probably going to run through a bigger brick in Africa. And you know, I'm sure you've all heard about the Bill Gates jokes. So, so I think that would be the first step, that people actually even realize it's a problem. Because right now there are different myths and attitudes people have that may not even allow them to receive be open to getting the vaccine. And then I think when we talk about Africa and many other third world countries, money, you know, this is where COVAX comes in. So the expectation is that countries in the West, in the developed world, will donate or at least allocate some of their vaccines to them. I don't know how well that's going right now. So the more other countries comply and support countries in Africa and other parts of the world, I think this will help to get the vaccines there and get more people vaccinated. So I think it has to be two-pronged. An awareness campaign, education campaign about the seriousness of the issue. And then the funding has to be there to provide the vaccines.
Okay. Dr. Bitazo, something to add?
Yes, sir. So thank you so much, Dr. Ajibade. That was really good from a pharmaceutical standpoint. So from a humanitarian and a medical standpoint, I'll say something. Problems don't happen in vacuums. They happen in a context. First of all, I think I'm getting tired of us Africans waiting for handouts. We have enough resources. Africa is one of the wealthiest continents in this world as far as natural and human resources. And all of us here are proof of that. We couldn't make it back there, but we made it here. We didn't change. We had a change in environment. So I'm here to challenge a lot of the African leaders, because that's part of where our problem begins, who are not allowing Africans to grow because they want to be in power. I'm here to challenge them that you guys have not only taken away our wealth, you have taken away our very reason for existing. So I'm here to challenge all those people who have power in Africa, who are holding the African people hostage. You're not helping yourself, because when you're in trouble, you're not going to get help from anybody else. We all need to step up our game. And I would say that part of the reason why there's a lot of myth about vaccinations, one is because people have done wrong to us, but the other truth is that we're not part of the game. You know, if you don't know what's going on, yeah, you're more likely to be suspicious. So the only way to fix that is for us to get involved. Africans need to step up. We need to start pushing for more science, more research in Africa. If we can do that and our people can see us, see their own family members, friends, brothers and sisters doing research and coming back home and saying, guess what? Wow, we did some really cool stuff in the lab today. I can't wait for the outcome. They begin to trust the process more. So there's no way to fix the African problem until the African people step up and just decide that we're going to stop sleeping. We are going to be part of this game. They can give as many donations as you want. We all know that you can help somebody all you want to. If they don't want to help themselves, you're really wasting your time. And then now other people are in distress. Even in America, we're having issues getting our vaccines. So you think they'll take their money and send to you guys when they cannot even get their own vaccines? No.
Thank you very much. Cornelius raised his hand earlier. Then there's Roger. Please, say Roger. So we start with Cornelius, then we'll go to Roger and to Reverend Pam.
Thank you very much. Mine is more of a comment. I want to really appreciate the two speakers who have done a very good job tonight. And I am a clinician, so I'm going to speak on a patient-to-patient, one-on-one, experience with patients with COVID-19. I have seen some of my patients get reinfected with COVID-19 2 times, okay, with symptoms, although probably not as much as when they were initially, came in contact with the virus. So, yes, I believe the vaccine can be very useful, but right now, I'm not sure as to how long the patient can develop immunity to the same kind of infection. If somebody got infected now, and 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 3 months from now, the person began to experience similar symptoms as though she just came in contact with the virus, and begin to wonder how much less will it be with the vaccine, which is just a part of the virus that was given to the patient. So do we know for how long the patient can remain immune to this infection, just like we have for flu? For flu, patients have to get the vaccine once a year. For this COVID-19, are we thinking that somebody will have to get revaccinated in the future for this? That's number one thoughts that I have. Number two is that I don't think we are paying more attention to therapeutics to fight this particular infection. The various products that we have right now, there's a lot of controversy about them, number one. Number two is that the therapeutics are very, very expensive to get. And more often than not, we tend to wait until the patient deteriorates before something is started. So this could be just a food for thought for the therapeutic industry. Remdesivir is not something you can just get over the counter or your insurance can easily cover. These are expensive drugs. And there are certain thoughts about some cheaper medications out there that the FDA does not feel comfortable to approve for COVID-19. Things like ivermectin, which is believed to help, this particular infection. So these are just my thoughts out there. I'm a clinician. I see the patients, with COVID through the year 2020 till now. So I've come in contact with them, thank God, I'm COVID free,
Thank God.
But I'm just wondering, could we do more in the area of therapeutics, and this particular vaccine, for how long? I understand the trajectory of the cycle that controls the building up of immunity when you get a vaccine. But if somebody who was infected 3 months ago came back again and tested positive again with COVID-19, then we begin to wonder, what is the efficacy of the vaccine? If somebody was exposed to the same virus 2 or 3 times, and they came down with the same infection, how much less if just a part of the vaccine was given to a person, will protect such a person? Although I know the dynamics of differences in individual immunity, but then it puts to question the efficacy of the vaccine. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We will take another quick question before we go to the top of the hour with Reverend Palm. So Roger, please ask your question or make your comment. Please make it as brief as you can. We're getting to the top of the hour.
That's okay. He's zooming in from Lagos. So let's...
Oh, okay. Please take your time. Roger, your hand has been up for a while.
Yes, thank you. I don't know. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much for this opportunity, and sincerely learning from the meeting. And I thank the host and the doctors for the education they've instilled in me. I've learned a lot as regarding this COVID-19 vaccine, because here in Africa, I'm talking from Lagos in Nigeria. Here, particularly here in Nigeria, or rather still in Africa, we have a different notion as regarding the vaccine. And then our leaders are currently, based on what the doctors have said, I've gotten to understand that our leaders are actually not doing anything to sensitize us or to make us understand the right version of the vaccine. Because here in Africa, we have this notion that the vaccine is
Roger, sorry to interrupt you, but your audio is acting up. So if you can just check your audio, and we'll call you back if you don't mind, because we can't hear you. Is that okay?
Can you hear me now?
Okay, yes.
Can you hear me clearer now?
Yes,
yeah, better now.
Okay. It's better now, right?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. So I was saying that here in Africa, precisely like I'm talking from Lagos in Nigeria. In respect of what the doctors have said regarding the COVID vaccine, I now have a different knowledge. Initially, I had a different knowledge about it based on the rumors that are going on, that the COVID vaccine is some sort of a way of instilling the New World Order and the mark of the beast, the 666, and so on and so forth. And that when you take this vaccine, it moves into your system and transform you to an animal, and you start behaving like an animal, and so on and so forth. So there are a lot of conspiracy, or a lot of theories, or a lot of rumors going on in Africa, or precisely like in Nigeria, as regarding the COVID vaccine. And the funniest thing there again that makes us to question this COVID of a thing, that some of us do not even believe that the COVID is real, is because we've never really seen a COVID patient, be it on TV or in real life here in Africa. But we've seen many of them being shown from the Western world. Here in Nigeria, we only hear figures. Figures are increasing in milliseconds, but we've never seen a COVID patient, be it through TV or in a live event. And the funniest thing there is that some time ago, videos were circulating on social media, on WhatsApp and all the like, how COVID patients, people that were termed to be COVID patients, were fighting in COVID centers over food, and some are fighting over women. 2 guys were fighting over a woman. 2 COVID patients fighting over another COVID patient. And we're like, which COVID are these people talking about? Are they actually gaming us, or what is actually going on? Now, just of recent, I can't really ascertain about the news, but it came out on social media that the Nigerian government has signed out 10 billion for the production of the COVID-19 vaccine locally here in Nigeria. And a lot of questions came up again. And the questions were like, who were the researchers, and when did they do the research as in regards of the local COVID vaccine that is to be produced in Nigeria? Secondly, which company is to produce it here in Nigeria? So with all these things, it makes us not to even believe that that this COVID of a thing is something real. It makes us to believe the rumors that are going around that the COVID-19 is some sort of game that the Western world is trying to apply, especially with the way the rate at which Bill Gates has suddenly become a medical doctor and he's at the forehead of the whole thing, from his computer to a medical field. And he's so much into the talks about it more than even the medical doctors. And it gives us a lot of questions. And we are like, is this COVID real? Is it even real? Talk less of even the vaccine. A lot of questions, and it makes us, we don't even believe in it and we don't even want it. That is so, and when the doctors were talking, I was like, I'm confused here now. I'm like, what is really going on in this world? Because I don't even know from which direction to stand now. Because even if the vaccine comes to Africa, a great number of people will not even take it. A great number of people will not even take it because they don't believe in it. Our leaders do not take that responsibility to sensitize us about it and help us to believe in it. Because we only hear like the second wave of COVID now, considering the second wave here in Nigeria. We're only hearing figures. Figures are increasing every day, but activities are going on very normally. Take, for example, like in Cameroon, concerts were held fully. In Ivory Coast, full standard of concerts. Stadiums were full. In Nigeria, everywhere. But you are telling me that you are planning for a second lockdown. How? How do you want me to believe in it?
Okay, Roger, please.
So with all this,
let's go to another person. Thank you very much. I think
so with
yeah, so
thank you.
Finish his question. Roger,
yeah, finish up your question.
So with all this, we find it difficult to believe on this COVID vaccine. We find it so difficult, and we even find it difficult to even believe that there is COVID-19 in Africa.
Reverend Pam, take over and.
All right, Roger, thank you so much. And I'm going to, we're going to skip the anthem. We'll play it at the end of the show because this is so important. And we have several people that have not had a chance to speak. So I'll be brief with the announcement, and then either Dr. Ajibade or Dr. Bitazon, you can take, there's a question from Facebook that the ambassador posted from John, is on the chat box. So you either one of you can take it or both of you can take it. But I'm going to be brief with the announcement so we can, we have some people on who have not been called. Garden of Eden has been on. So after the announcement, I'm going to acknowledge a few people here, let them weigh in, and then I'll get back to you. So we are going to be talking about, I'm not sure who is, okay, we're going to be talking about starting tomorrow. We're going to be talking about dating during this pandemic. Believe it or not, people are still dating. I think that, I don't know how they do it, maybe through Zoom or something, I'm not sure. They've been virtual proposals, virtual dating. I don't know, but life is changing. You know, we're going to be doing our marriage series. We're going to start with dating, and then the following week we'll be ending it with the Valentine's Day. We're going to be talking about before you say I do. Believe it or not, people are still dating during this pandemic. So we're going to figure out, hey, who knows? You never know what you're going to learn. You know, this necessity is the mother of all invention. So people are coming up with, you know, cute ways of, you know, staying in touch or doing different things. We usually discuss these things a week during the week before, and we end with a live show, but we're actually not focused on the WhatsApp group. We're focused on this show. So we would like to encourage everyone who is here to Zoom back in next week and weigh in. Like I said, the show is unscripted. And for just a quick comment from my sister Olanike, I graduated from pharmacy school 100 years ago. I've been a clinical pharmacist, so you can get my number from Dr. Bisola and reach me offline. You know, we can chat and have a few things I can share with you. But I think, yeah, so let me, Garden of Eden, if you want to unmute yourself and just say something, the mic is yours. After that, we'll go to Dr. Ajibade's handsome husband, who's been, you know, itching to say something. So Garden of Eden, I'm not sure what your real name is. Would you like to say something?
Hi everyone, how are you?
Wonderful.
Yeah, my name is Bola Okewo, and I'm an event designer.
Awesome.
Busola Ajibade, she's my sister, and I've actually been blessed listening to information and been enlightened. I've actually been blessed, and I wish this group more grace. And my suggestion from the onset, this has been a very, very great and educative forum. I'm going to suggest that, like you have another one coming next week. It's better you start advertising it. I just heard about this one today. The ones you're just having now. I saw it on Facebook in maybe like 2 hours before you started. And I believe if more people has heard about it before that 2 hours or 3 hours, you would have more attending this. Because just like Mr. Rogers said, people are so confused. People need more knowledge about it. People need to hear more and be educated on the vaccine, if to take it or not. It's a lot of so many informations going on out there. So I would suggest, if it is possible, to repeat this exact program about the vaccine, so that people can still come and learn and to understand what is really going on. And Mr. Rogers can actually introduce it to more people in Africa, because most of us on this online right now, we are Africans, to actually bring more Africans on board so that they can learn and let them know that this is actually real, and the Lord will give you more grace. I really appreciate all the information and putting this together. More grace to you.
Thank you so much. And this show is your show. It belongs to all Africans. Our slogan is Africa Online for Africa by Africans. And I appreciate your suggestion. I want you to know we need volunteers. As you can see, I am the one streaming this show. I wish I was not the one streaming it. Dr. Busola did that flyer yesterday. She took it upon herself to do it. So we need sons and daughters that will be willing to volunteer to promote this. But as chair of the organization, and if it's okay with our main anchor, I'm going to declare right now, we're going to do a sequel to this show at the end of February, so that you have 1 month now to start inviting people. We usually do a health topic at the end of each month. So your request is understandable and it's real. We have a lot of people that have been messed up by conspiracy theories, and we want to encourage everybody, go to the WHO website, go to the CDC website. If we had the help, even what Dr. Busola put together will be on our website, but it's also going to be on our Facebook page. We're not going to take it down. But your request has been granted. So if there are no objections from you, we're going to do a sequel to this show the last Sunday of February. I want to, there's somebody with an 832 number. I'm sorry, I don't know your name. If you can unmute yourself and either weigh in or comment, the mic is yours. 832-516-4188. The mic is yours. Oh, where is, okay. 832, all right. While we're waiting for that person, can we go to Brother Larry? Okay, no, 832, okay. The mic is yours.
Thank you very much. My name is Sam Keshenro from Houston, Texas.
Okay.
From the little time I've spent with this meeting, I think I enjoy it so much. Mr. Roger, all his question and his concern, very nice. I just get out of the COVID. I got tested positive on 28th of December, and I was in till December 11th. I can tell you there is a COVID. If Mr. Roger can listen to me, it's not a scam or anything. That disease, that pandemic, the so-called COVID, is real. I went through it for 14 to 3 weeks. I know what it is. I've never seen such a thing in my life. So for people who doesn't believe it, I want to tell them that COVID is real. I've never seen such a bad thing. That thing is bastard. I'm sorry to say that. Because the way he deals with me, I won't even ask my enemy to experience it. So if there is a vaccine anywhere, please register, because I registered about 3 days ago and they already put me on the waiting list. Yesterday they called me. They say I'm now on the list on the February 4. I can go to the nearest place. They give me the list of places in Houston. I went there. I will go there on February 4th to go and take my vaccine. And they already said it that if they give you 2 p.m., just go there. By that 2 p.m., your vaccine will be ready. The person who's going to give it to you will be ready. You're not going to spend more than 15 minutes there, and you are out of the place. So now, when you talk about that vaccine, please, anybody that has the chance to go and take it, please go and take it. That thing is not good. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kishinro. I actually live in Houston too. Thank you for sharing your testimony. And this is so awesome. That's why I like this show, because it's unscripted. We didn't even know he was going to be here, but those people who are listening, Mr. Rogers can tell the people in Africa there is COVID is real. He actually heard from a real person who's been infected by it. So if we can go to Brother Larry, and then Niason, we have somebody by NE. I'm not sure, Northeast. I'm not sure if that person is related to Kanye West, but Larry, the mic is yours.
Yeah, we'll call on him later. We'll call on him.
Can I say something real quick?
Sure.
Yeah, Doctor.
I really there was something that I meant to say earlier, and I didn't. I kind of skipped my mind. I was going to say that one thing that I really pray that will come to the realization of is that science is not up for debate. You know, it is what it is. That's why when you go to medical school, they don't teach you, or you go to any kind of, they teach you based on principles. And you see, they'll call those books Principles of Medical Practice, Principles of Pharmacology. It's because that's how things work. When you get in the car and you want to drive, you don't say, well, let me put reverse and it's going to drive forward. It does not work like that. If you want the car to go forward, you put it in drive and it drives. And so it's the same thing with science. And I want us to know that, unfortunately, for wicked reasons, for political reasons, people have taken this thing and turned it into a game. And it's going to cost a lot of people their lives. When I stepped away, I just had tears coming down my eyes, because one thing that is happening now, I mean, primary care, I'm seeing a whole lot more COVID. Before, I'm sure they were there, but we didn't have us. But as the numbers are increasing, we are having more of them. I'm diagnosing more of them in the clinic. The other day, the last day that I worked on this week, about 2 days ago, I diagnosed 2 patients in the evening. And I knew both of them probably had it because they had symptoms and they had exposure. You know, and the second gentleman that I diagnosed is a nice guy, older guy. He came in. A lot of people on his job had it. He has had all these symptoms, and we tested him. I said, I think you have it, you know. And at this point, everybody that comes to me in a certain way, I'm like, you're guilty until proven innocent as far as COVID is concerned. And so we screened the man. We have a little waiting area where we screened him, and then I spoke with him for a little bit, and then I sent him to go wait in the car, and we'll bring him the result. We'll tell him the results and tell him what to do. So and he was telling me that, no, I need to know when I can come back to get my second test, because my job wants me to get 2 tests before I can come back. So I said, well, let's see what the first test says, because depending on what the results are, you're not going to need one very soon. So as I was walking him out the door, the nurse just ran up to me and told me it's positive. I was walking with this man, okay? This man froze. You could see, it's almost like I'd given him a death sentence. Because even though he had been exposed, he had symptoms, he still did not believe that COVID could deal with him too. And all of us are kind of that way. You don't believe it until it hits you. And I'm just here to tell you guys that COVID is real. It's as real as it gets. We are seeing people with it. We're treating the symptoms. And I just thank God, it's a miracle that some of us are still walking around alive. a lot of people in the hospitals. And as I talk to a lot of my colleagues who work in intensive care, I mean, one of my friends, she is a young lady. She had to go and do a living will. She had to go and do basically I've forgotten the name of the document where somebody signs and says, if this happens to me, these are the decisions I want made. She was a young person, but it's because she saw so many people dying around her in the ICU. She was scared because also, as those people are dying, they have a high viral load. Remember we talked about that? So they're more likely to infect the doctors, the nurses, and everybody else, the people that are cleaning, anybody else that is taking care of them. The risk of them getting infected is much higher. And so, I always pray that we will not want to experience. Say experience is the best teacher, but it's very expensive. I would rather learn from somebody else's experience than to get the experience myself in some ways. So don't wait to find out, because when you find out, you may not be the lucky person. And even if you survive it, we have people they call long haulers now. We have people with symptoms. There are people that now have heart damage. There are people that, let me give you an example. 1/3 of young athletes, college athletes who had COVID have heart disease now. So their future in athleticism is gone. They can't do any more athletics things. There are people that have brain damage, kidney damage, lung damage, nerve damage, autoimmune diseases. The list is ridiculous. And that's why when the other doctor was talking even about treatment, I'm like, you don't even know what to treat. COVID is a crazy disease. It attacks everything from every angle. I've seen a patient, I did not think that this guy had COVID. He came in with something like a heart problem, like a heart attack or something. I did everything, ruled out a heart attack, and I said, go to the emergency department. And I just wanted to know what happened to him. And lo and behold, this guy had COVID. They saw it on his lungs. They did the test and it was positive. And they saw it in his lungs. And I think because of the lung damage, it was kind of rubbing against his diaphragm. That's the part that that moves up and down when you breathe. And that's why he was having that pain like a heart attack. And so you cannot just look at somebody now and say they have COVID, they don't have it. And I want to pray for our fellow Africans that please don't wait to find out. Do the right thing. Take care of yourself. Believe it. You don't want to find out by experiencing it.
Thank you, Brother Landry, please. You've been waiting so long.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thanks for the patience.
Thank you, our presenters. We really appreciate this information. Personally, to me, my concern is that for Africa, our people in Africa, and unfortunately, Dr. Hazon has said a lot, because I am very close to home. I speak with people, all this, and people will tell me there is no COVID. And some people will tell me, I have a friend at, there's a place at this Yaba area in Lagos that they have their friends there, they're not being treated well, all those things like that. And while Nigeria or Cameroon or Ghana is now Africa to say, we are not on the first 10 country or the list, and there's nothing we can do about that, because America they can't still figure it out right now. I am thinking that information like this will help. Is there any, I know we cannot enforce this type of information, but we can also collaborate with some trusted organization to probably see how we can put the information out. I was telling my wife yesterday, we went somewhere and it was so dusty. And what we did was that we had our mask on, our face mask on. And after we finished, I told her, I said, if not for us having our face mask on, we'll be sneezing, everything like that. And I was trying to tell her the power of the guidelines. Mm-hmm. The guidelines, you go out, people sneeze, you don't know who sneezed, and you just walk into the atmosphere, you contract a lot of things that you cannot even see yourself. So the education there is very important. And for this forum, for this organization, this corporation, how can we connect or probably pass this information out? Because we can only do so much inviting few people, and people are not really taking advantage of this kind of information because people are dying. I can tell you specifically, my job is life insurance. So I know a lot of people that are dying, not only just dying, kids are dying. Kids, they are dying. I was watching the news, I was watching CNN yesterday. A near 9 years old boy died of COVID. I almost shed into tears. And I look at my kids too. That kind of scared me, that if a 9 years old child could die of COVID within 2 days. So what's going to happen to people? And you know, in Nigeria, in Africa, we eat all sorts. Now we are not even eating what we grow. We want to eat burger. We want to eat Domino's pizza, all those things. You know, my wife will tell me, stop eating this. Now I'm beginning to. Now I don't have a choice than to listen to her. You know, to build that immune, to to be alive. So how do we do that? It's a concern, because we still have people at home.
Thank you very much. Just one quick remark. I mean, I've witnessed COVID up front. I've seen and lived for 46 days with somebody who was involved, who was infected, and she spent 46 days in the hospital, 26 of those days in the ventilator. So please, the Holy Spirit came on Pentecost Sunday last year and freed her from that. So I thank the Lord for that. So, and going back to what Roger said, this is what happened in the early 1980s when HIV/AIDS came. I have friends in Cameroon. I was a journalist who told me we have not yet seen an HIV corpse, so we don't believe in the existence of HIV/AIDS. But they soon started seeing it, and then that's when they took things serious. So please, Africans, listen to the doctors, listen to science. Don't go with fake media. I'm a media person. I know what fake media does. Ambassador Lisa.
Can you unmute yourself real quick? We're running out of time.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm trying to help Reverend Payne. We're putting information on the Facebook page. Yeah. Thank you, doctors. I appreciate the presentation. Dr. Basula, I loved your PowerPoint presentation. For some reason, my screen would not print, but I would love to get a copy of those things later to share with my family in Africa. I don't have a lot to say because time is running short. Thank you again so much.
Dr. Mr. Lanike. I just joined. Can I say something for 1 minute? I don't know.
Sure.
Please, who is that? Say your name, please, and contribute.
Eric, I just joined the show. I was watching on Facebook. And
okay.
Right now, I work in a convalescent center, and I've witnessed those cases of people who died of COVID. COVID is not a myth. It is not history. It is not a story. It is existing. I'm right there.
Sorry, please.
You're breaking up. You're breaking up, please. So while you fix that, Ms. Olanike, please. No, your hand was up.
Let him unmute himself. We're going to extend the show briefly.
Okay.
I think he's still speaking.
Are you getting me?
Yes.
Yeah. Go ahead then.
Yes, I was saying that it's not just a story that people created. It is there, and people are suffering of it. But the aspect is this misinformation that is going on, and we need to keep up with these educative forums. We need to keep up with these educative programs so that people get to learn about it, especially those who are not science inclined, who have already, their minds have been corrupted by conspiracy theory. They don't believe in that. They even see people who suffer of it, they say, no, it is something else, it's not COVID. Why is it that these people are doing like it? But with the case of our countries, Africa, the authorities too need to sit up. They don't show the example to the population. They don't do anything that is going to make the population feel that there is something that exists like COVID. That is why people don't really believe it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Ms. Olanike, please, we come to you.
Okay, thank you so much. Quickly, I just want to weigh in about what Dr. Colinial said the other time. I think we need to answer some of his questions about how long the efficacy of the vaccine talking from the point of view of the pharmacy, I mean, year 3 pharmacy students, I think what we know so far about this vaccine is that they are to some extent, they are efficacious. I mean, they are effective right now. At least the 2 vaccines that are being used, I mean, actively in America, the Pfizer vaccine and Moderna vaccine. Pfizer vaccine is 94.6% effective, and Moderna proved to be 97.1% effective. Having said that, for vaccine to be, I mean, for you to be effective, I mean, to be protected against this vaccine, you have to take your the first dose of your vaccine. Then you have to wait for at least 2 weeks for this vaccine to like activate your immune system. So after the 28 days and you get your second dose of vaccine, that is when you can boldly say that to some extent, at least based on science, you are immune against this vaccine. So the long-term question that he asked, I was on Facebook this morning, I was going through the WHO briefing this morning, and they were talking about the same question they were asking on that show, which means this is a burning question that everybody wants to know now. Even if I get the vaccine, how long am I being protected against against this virus? When should I be looking forward to get the next dose, like flu that we get annually? Okay, nobody have answers to that. And talking from that show from WHO this morning that I watched, the scientists, the researchers are still working so hard on that. I don't think as of today, anybody have answers to that. So, but what we do know, when you get your vaccine, you wait 2 weeks. It's like any other vaccine. Even if you get your flu vaccine today, I will tell you as a pharmacy intern that, oh, okay, you have to wait in the next 2 weeks for this to kick in for your immune system to like activate this. So I think that's what I wanted to say. And the last point I have about, is it Dr. Colenius from Lagos? Thank God that this is not really well pronounced in Nigeria. I believe that we've been so blessed, or Africa generally, we've been so blessed that we don't really have to see too much of these cases or severe cases. When we talk about COVID vaccine, COVID diseases, many people have these diseases, but the people that are mostly affected are those that have underlying medical conditions based on science and what we've seen. A couple of months ago, I think 2 months ago, I was at intensive care units for my rotation, for my 3rd year hospital rotation. I saw a lot of people under mechanical ventilator. These are the people with acute respiratory stress syndrome. These are the people that have baby pneumonia, asthma before anything with their lung. Those are the people that these diseases are hitting so hard. And trust me, the rate of survival in this patient population is so high. It's so high. We are blessed in Nigeria. Like we said, we were well raised. We eat a lot of good food. When we have our immune system to some extent is high, so we don't see severe complications of COVID, and we should continue to pray that we don't see severe complications of COVID-19. COVID-19 is real. Let's keep telling our people, please. Let's keep getting this message out. Thank you. That's my contribution.
Thank you very much. Dr. Ajibade, please.
No, Niason, 1 second.
Okay, go ahead, Robert.
I posted on the chat this thing that we're going to extend the show briefly because this is so important. But before Dr. Ajibade and Dr. Bitazong, in your closing remarks, please, there was a question from Facebook from John. He said, is it true that hot climate suppresses the transmission of COVID-19? If you can comment on that in your closing statement. So we're going to get a closing statement from Dr. Ajibade, Dr. Bitazong, and our final comments, myself and Niason. Dr. Ajibade.
Thank you. I think further to what Dr. Cornelius had said, the COVID, he asked if the COVID vaccine is, I'll paraphrase, bulletproof, and it's not. Even according to the clinical trials, the Pfizer, BioNTech, and the Moderna trial, in the Moderna, there were still 8 to 9 cases in the COVID-19 in the active group. So patients still got COVID-19 infection after the vaccine, but the risk is lowered. So what the vaccine does is it lowers risk. It does not eliminate it. And then in the other trial, I think the Pfizer was 8 to 9 patients, and I think the Moderna was 11. So there were a small, very small fraction of patients, I think about 1% when you adjust, that still got infection, but it's lower risk with the vaccination. So I just wanted to make that point. So it's not bulletproof. And then as far as temperatures go, I'll let Dr. Tazan comment, but there've been talk also in the United States. So as far as virus transmission goes, colder weather facilitates higher transmission rates. So the temperate climate versus the tropical climate, I'm sure there's some impact of that, but it does not remove that risk. And it does not eliminate the need for preventative measures.
Dr. Bitazon, please. Dr. Ajibade, thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Ajibade, for that the comment. I think I'm going to leave it at that with the temperature thing, and I'll explain why. I just want to say something real quick. The only thing that has really made a difference in the lifespan of human beings is public health. And I really like that COVID, as devastating as it has been, has brought that out. Because right now we don't have a treatment for COVID-19. The only way that you can slow it down or reduce your risk is by following known public health measures. Keep a safe distance. 6 feet is really the barest minimum, because when you cough or you sneeze, your particles travel many more feet than that. Okay, so 6 feet is just, it's just an expedited number to make people feel better. But you want to keep a distance from other people as much as possible. The mask really helps, because when you talk, when you cough, when you sneeze, when you sing, it's natural. You release a lot of particles. And that is how COVID is spread, through aerosols. So one way to slow that down again is to put your masks on. And then another thing is hand washing, because I think you could even see here, statistics have shown that most human beings touch their face about 20 times every hour. How many times do you say, let me wash my hands before I touch my face? Hardly ever. If your face is itching, you just scratch it, And if you have touched something that had COVID on it and you just bring it around your face, your risk of, transmitting it to yourself now goes even higher. So regardless of what is going on right now, let us continue to follow these public health guidelines. And then we talked about lifestyle, because everything with lifestyle has to do with keeping your body in prime shape so it is better equipped to handle challenge. The weather helps, but it doesn't solve the problem. That's why I said I don't even want to go into that, because I don't want to give people excuses to not do the right thing. Just do the right thing. That is if you want to stay alive and you want to help other people. I think sometimes in life we have to get to the place where we decide, do I really want to stay alive or not? And what is the price I need to pay to stay alive? And how do I get it done? And I'm going to be diligent with it. And I think that's something that we all have to keep pushing ourselves with. I wear the mask every day at work. I wear it sometimes, my ears itch, my face hurts, my eyes hurt. Sometimes I feel like I can't breathe, but I have to keep it on, because the other options are not possible for me to do. So I always tell my patients when they come in complaining, I'm like, calm down. We're trying to make it through COVID-19. We want you to make it, and we need to make it through too. And so I said, do you think I like this whole mask thing? Do you think so? I don't like it, okay? I want you to know that when we wear it as providers, as doctors and so on, we don't enjoy it. But it's what we have to do. And you have to train yourself to stop focusing so much on how much you hate the mask and what the politicians said. A lot of those politicians are taking care of themselves. If they get sick, they get good quality care. So stop listening to people that will not help you when you're in trouble. Do what you can. Do what God has given you the ability to do. Follow the guidelines, wash your hands. If there's a vaccine, as long as you don't have serious contraindications, please take them. And if you're prayerful or you believe in God, please trust God, because at the end of the day, He's the only one that is really sustaining us. He's the one that gave people the knowledge to come up with all the scientific things. Nobody just got it by magic and just had your brain. Nobody made their own brain. Somebody made their brain, and I believe that person is God. So He is the source of all wisdom, all knowledge, and everything that we need to survive in this life. Let's stop being spiteful and just be wise. Wisdom is cheap. Problems are expensive.
Principal thing.
Use it.
Reverend Pam.
Yes, again, on behalf of Africa Online Media Corporation, I really, really want to thank our guests. They're actually part of the organization, so I won't even call them guests. I want to thank all those who participated. I want to acknowledge Lola Fowora, who joined not too long ago. We are here every Sunday from 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to 5:30. We extended the show today by 10 minutes because it was critical that we address certain things. I also want to acknowledge NE. You didn't get a chance to speak. And Garden of Eden, thank you so much for your suggestion. Hopefully, you will share information about this show. Galaxy S10, I see you at work. I don't know, I don't remember your name, but thank you for your participation. Olanyika, good luck with pharmacy school. And, Ambassador Lisa, of course, thank you so much. Again, next week we're going to be talking about dating during the pandemic. And I didn't check with Dr. Bitazan or Dr. Jibade if they are available, but I'm sure they'll work their schedule out. You guys were such a dynamic duo. We want the two of you back, this tag team, next the end of next month to do a sequel. We'll frame it a little bit slightly different, but it will be a sequel to this show. And we want to spread the word, and we'll try to do the flyer ahead of time. We need volunteers. If you would like to volunteer, we need IT volunteers, we need admin volunteers, we need marketing volunteers, we need fundraiser volunteers. Just email us at info@africaonlinetv.org. And God will bless you, Niason.
Thank you so very much. There is a Lola Fowora. Please, thank you for also signing in. Thank you all so much. And talking about leaders that lead by example, the King of Morocco had his shot on Thursday, and he received his vaccine to show his people that he wants everybody to take the vaccine and stay healthy. Thank you all so very much. We are sure that we will come back on February 28th. That's a Sunday. The last Sunday of February will be the 28th. So please, Dr. Bitazan, Dr. Ajibade, and all of you, please come in on that day and we will continue this discussion. Thank you all so much, but watch us on Facebook. Have a blessed day and enjoy the month of February, the month of love. Goodbye.
Wait, no anthem?
Yes.
We extended the show. We might as well extend it a minute or two for the anthem.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Love the anthem. So yeah, the show is over. I'm going to play the anthem.
Yes.
Okay.
You know I need the anthem.
I know.
Okay. Can you guys hear it?
Africa.
Yes.
Awesome.
Africa.
Africans for Africa, Africans for Africa. Africans for Africa, Africans for Africa, Africans for Africa. Africans have very bright idea. If only you let us share. If you really want to know my history, please come, sit down, listen to my story. God gave us the wisdom. He guides our footsteps, makes us shine and transform. Hey, as one people, with so many cultures, indeed we are one. Stand up, African. Let's save Africa. Let us all unite behind Africa Online Media Corporation. Stand up, Africans. Let's save Africa. It's time to come together, promote awareness, progress, and solution. Hey, Africans for Africa. Africans for Africa. Africans for Africa. All Africans can rally for a common cause, to believe without judgment in what our brother does, to identify and resolve our challenges, to allow each other's ideas without regard to standards. As one people with so many cultures, we are one. Stand up, Africans. Let's save Africa. Let us empower Africans in and out of Africa. Stand up, Africans, for Africa. Africa Online Media Corporation, that's a good way to start. Stand up, Africans. Let's save Africa. They have all the resources we need to benefit our society. Oh. Will be education for everyone if we believe. Prosperity for Africans if we believe. Medical facilitation for Africans if we believe. Stand up, Africa, yes, for Africa. Africa Online Media Corporation, that's a good way to start. Stand up, Africans. Save Africa. Africa is a cradle of civilization. Stand up, Africans. For Africa. We're enslaved not because we're weak, because of our hospitality. Africans. Let's save Africa. Jump on the Africa Online Miracle Jet. Don't be left behind. Stand up, Africans, for Africa. Together we shall succeed. Together we will win. Stand up, Africans. Let's save Africa. We are writing our own story, the truth, and we shall tell it to the world. Stand up, Africans, for Africa. No more lies. Africans own Africa.
Okay, Ambassador, thank you so much. And thank you, everybody. That's our anthem. We own full rights to that song. Thank you.
Thank you all so much, and see you next Sunday.